Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're all doing well and having a great day out there. I got a video request from a buddy, Eric, who's been following me for a long time on my channel, and definitely appreciate all the support, man. I've been wanting to do something similar to this, and when you dropped that comment, I was like, all right, I got to get some movies together and make a video like this. So I'm going to do a video here. It's going to be 10 movies. If you're kind of getting into horror, haven't really seen a lot, or maybe you've seen some of, the household name horror films like Halloween, The Exorcist, all those movies that everybody knows. I try to find 10 here that are a little bit different. Some of them you might have heard of them, some of them maybe not, some of them you might have seen. Most of them I would assume probably not if you haven't, really kind of kept up with horror and stuff. So I wanted to find just 10 movies that would be good to check out. And also, they're great for, the Halloween season. Halloween's coming up in a couple days here, of course. So these are just 10, not my top 10, but just 10. I just went through my movie collection here and just was going, starting from A, working my way down. And as far as I got to was J. So there's other movies. I will probably do another video like this to do 10 additional ones and such. And I'll probably get to a top 10 at some point here. I really need to put a lot of thought into that because it's so hard to sift through this here. Horror is my favorite genre. If you followed my channel at all, you absolutely know that horror is my favorite genre. There's a magnitude of reasons for that. I got introduced to it at a young age and just got sucked into it with Phantasm and the Evil Dead films. And I just, kind of just spiraled out of control from there. Worked at a video store for a couple of years and just watched everything we had on the shelves. So I've just always been attracted to horror. And one of the greatest things about horror for me is you can do everything with it. There's so many subgenres, different things. You got, comedies, drama. I mean, really any subgenre there is, you can meld it and make it horror and get so many different spins on what is considered a horror film. And that's why I like it so much. There's just so much you can get. I feel like, you get great characterization in those movies and stuff, and you start pulling for people. There's just so much great stuff that comes with horror. So I tried to find 10 movies that were a little bit unique as far as tapping into those different subgenres. First one we're going to jump into here is Attack the Block. This movie is fantastic, and some might not call this a horror film, but it definitely has horror elements to it. But the reason I wanted to select this one and talk about it first is this is where John Boyega started off here. So I saw this movie a good while before Star Wars was coming out, and of course, John Boyega went on to play Finn in the new Star Wars trilogy. He is fantastic in this movie. I instantly gravitated to him. He has so much charisma, so much, screen presence. So when he moved over to Star Wars, I was super, super pumped about that. He is fantastic in this movie. I'm not going to get into very in-depth details with each film here because I am a huge advocate of going into things as blind as possible. But I'll give a brief synopsis on this. Basically what this is here is it's somewhat of a coming-of-age story with a group of these kids, kind of like a gang of kids. And ultimately, what it winds up turning into is a very mature version of the Goonies in a sense. It's almost like the Goonies meets Aliens or Critters, Gremlins, something like that. These kids are in their hometown, an alien invasion starts, it's a more mature version of that, and just the way things kind of unfold with these kids and stuff. But it's a fantastic film, absolutely love it, great performances around the board. Highly would recommend checking this one out. Next here, we've got Better Watch Out. Now, this here is more for Christmas time and such, but I feel like there's a lot to appreciate this. You can watch it any time of the year. This is a really, really great film here. Really, what we kind of get out of this, it's Home Alone on steroids. It's more or less the best way to describe it. But what makes this film very interesting is where the story goes. This film has a very well-placed story with a couple of twists and turns that, for myself, kept me very interested because this could have been just a simple slash-em-up kind of a movie, and they went in a different direction, which absolutely love this one here. Again, Christmas timey, but I think you can get something to enjoy out of this all year round here. And this kid, I can't remember this kid's name here. Remember watching this? And I'm thinking throughout the entire movie, watching this kid's performance, I'm like, man, this is reminding me so much of a young Leonardo DiCaprio, like some young Leo coming into his, his age, and this kid's gonna kill it once he, continues to grow and mature with film and such. Go back and start watching some of the special features, and the director's talking about, working with this kid, and then name drops. He goes, yeah, he just reminds me so much of this young Leonardo DiCaprio. So there's definitely something to be said about this kid's performance in here. Next, we got Bone Tomahawk, and this, as far as just a horror film in general, this is one of the best ones that I've seen in a while. And this year, there's really not much to this movie outside of just very intense, drawn-out scenes. It's a very slow burn kind of a movie, and I like those movies. If you got a slow burn film and you're invested into characters and you get a nice payoff, To me, that's almost as good as it can get. This film captures it perfectly. You've got Kurt Russell. Actually, the whole cast in this is fantastic. Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Richard Jenkins. You got a couple cameos in here from some genre actors and such as well. This is fantastic, though. You don't see a lot of Western horror films unless, they're out there, but some of them are kind of goofy and stuff. This is just straight up horror. Really what this is, you got this small town here. Someone gets taken by whatever is going on out in the mountainside, and they go on this Western journey to go track this person down who had gotten taken, and it's kind of all the characterization it's building up. Once you get to the final climax of this film with everything, it's as visceral of on-screen violence that you could probably get in any movie. It is so ridiculously realistic. And with how this film is playing out and these characters and you're getting sucked into it creates, true terror. And it's not based on jump scares or anything like that. It's just the visualization and the journey that you go on with these characters. It's fantastic. Could not recommend this movie enough. Next year, we got Drag Me to Hell. And this one's probably a little bit more known for folks, of course, because Sam Raimi is the one who had written and directed this. But I had to pull this one aside here. Evil Dead is a great go-to movie, of course, but, Evil Dead is always going to be what Sam Raimi is most known for. Drag Me to Hell, though, I feel does not get enough love as it deserves. This is fantastic. If you've seen Evil Dead, this is basically just a modern version of Evil Dead with a new story tied to it, but it's all the same that you would expect from Sam Raimi, and this is one I feel that needs to be seen by everybody. It's fantastic. I don't even want to get into the plot of this movie because there's so much that happens, there's so much fun stuff that goes into this, and the performances are, I don't know how Sam Raimi gets these amazing performances out of people when it's so goofy and quirky and over the top, but it never takes you out of the film. It's fantastic. His directing is just, it's madness brought to perfection. Next, we've got Hatchet. This was my introduction to Adam Green. Adam Green has done so much good for the horror community, but definitely, his forte is with the Hatchet series. There are 4 of these movies now. I hope they continue, and I just want to see the story continue. But Victor Crowley in this film, played by Kane Hodder, who was, of course, Jason in the Friday the 13th films, 7, 8, 9, and 10. He is fantastic, and Victor Crowley is no doubt a modern, horror icon for me. And I would imagine for a lot of people, too, that follow, the horror community. But this would be a great one to check out. It's a good blend of slasher. There are some, horrific moments and stuff, but it's a very good blend of, horror, comedy, over-the-top kills and stuff like that. And the kills are so inventive in this as well. I would highly recommend checking this out. Actually, I would highly recommend checking all of these out. The next one here is Hereditary. This one, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this because this is very recent, but this is a masterpiece. A masterpiece of horror, no doubt. A lot of movies have kind of claimed to be that next Exorcist or the Exorcist of their generation or time. Hereditary is the only movie that I have seen that I would put that to claim. I would put that on that throne and say this is the modern Exorcist. This is our generation's Exorcist, no doubt. Very, very entrancing kind of a story that starts to unfold as the movie plays out. But really what this movie is about, more or less, is just the deconstruction of a family dealing with a horrific incident. And Toni Collette's performance in this, it is unjust that there was no recognition at the Academy Awards. And again, I like watching the Academy Awards for the sake of just seeing everybody together. I enjoy seeing all the stars and stuff. But as far as what the awards and who's winning and all that, it's all a crock of shit. The fact that Toni Collette did not get any recognition for her performance in this, this is an all-timer performance. I can't imagine what she put herself through mentally to capture this character the way that she did. Highly recommend this one. Again, I will keep saying that, but Hereditary, modern masterpiece, no doubt. Next one here is The Innkeepers. This is from Ty West. Ty West has done a couple of films now. The House of the Devil he had done prior to The Innkeepers, which I really enjoy as well. But this, to me, is kind of his swan song. I think this movie is as good of a ghost story as you can ever find. You get these 2 folks here. Hotel is starting to close down and such. It's kind of the final days of everything, and business is slow, of course. And it's really them just kind of riding this out here. They work the overnight shift and stuff, and just where everything unfolds and kind of rolls from there. Very, very, very cool. I adore this film. I actually am probably going to wind up rewatching this week again here. I've seen it a couple times, but every time I take a minute to look at that, I just got to revisit it again. But it is fantastic. Next year, It Follows. Another one that's probably a little bit more well-known, but I feel like it had a nice splash when it came out, and then, it's not kind of on the forefront anymore. But this, to me, is another modern masterpiece of a movie. I really feel this is a movie that will stand the test of time for the horror community and passing it down for generations to come. And I feel like in another 10, 15, 20 years maybe, this is going to find a whole other audience and have a huge resurgence for sure. I love this movie. It is very unique and really, I guess what the movie more or less is about is a sexually transmitted disease that would lead you to death. So you need to continue having sex to pass this curse on to the next person. But the kicker is if that person ends up dying, it falls back to the person that gave it to them. So it really gives you this kind of this sense of just never feeling safe or secure, because even if you've passed it on, you still have this anxiety of this thing coming at you. And the way that they portray what this entity is, that we'll call it, it's very, very awesome. And I feel this is a movie, some people could find it scary if you get into the psychological aspects of what it's presenting. So it can really mess with you. I didn't find the movie scary at all, but I do understand how this could psychologically mess with you. Aside from it not feeling horrific to me, though, this is still one of the best horror films I've ever seen, just because of how unique the movie was. I love the characters in this movie, and I thought it was very smartly written. So It Follows, another one. If you had not seen that one, definitely would recommend that one. Next here is Jennifer's Body, and this is another one I felt that made a quick splash when it came out, and now it's just kind of, through the grapevine, you kind of hear about it from people, and I think this could make a resurgence at some point too. But this movie here, I had zero interest in this when it came out. Me and my brother went and saw it in the theater, and this was probably the third or the fourth movie we had seen, because we went in and just started sneaking into movies. We ended up just staying to check it out. So glad that we had done that, because this is such a fun film. Megan Fox is fantastic in this. This is kind of a perfect role for her, because she's so much that, pretty girl next door, bad girl kind of attitude with everything. It doesn't work so much in her other roles and all that, because she's just there to be that sex appeal. In this movie, that's what it's all about, because she's kind of a demonic succubus in this, so it works perfect. She plays the role perfectly. The cast is fantastic in here. The story is great, and it's very slapsticky. It's the dialogue in this, it's not straightforward dialogue. It's a lot of kind of, I don't know the right word to describe it, 16, 17-year-old girls kind of just going on, as intensive dialogue as you can find. I don't know if there's even a word for that out there, but once you hear it, you'll know. Kind of like Mean Girls. It's something like that Mean Girls dialogue. But this is so good, very smartly written again, and enjoyed that one a lot. And last for this video here, there's the only one that I knew for sure I wanted to throw in here, because it is directly tied to the Halloween season, and that is Trick or Treat. This here is the best horror anthology out there. I've thought about it for plenty of years, and it is. You can't beat what Michael Dougherty brought to this film here. It is perfect in every sense of the word, and next to Halloween, this is the pinnacle of what a Halloween movie is. Halloween is the go-to. Every Halloween, Halloween is that movie, Michael Myers and all that, but this movie here is the next runner-up. If there are two movies that you need to watch every Halloween season, it's Halloween and Trick or Treat, and that's it. Plenty of other movies you can get to, but if you need two, those are the two. This movie does everything so well. The stories are fantastic. All the acting is fantastic. Feeling like you're immersed into the Halloween season and the spirit of Halloween and everything. No movie has done it better than Trick or Treat. You feel like you're sitting here on Halloween Day with these characters. I mean, the way that they immersed you into this Halloween universe of the film, and the stories and everything, so perfect. If there's a way to describe this as far as how it's kind of pieced together, this feels like if Quentin Tarantino sought out to make an anthology film and do it based on the Halloween season, this is kind of what you would get out of it. That's how smart and put together this movie is. I adore this movie. It is one of my favorite horror films of all time. If there is one out of any of these that you are going to make the time to get to before Halloween comes up, this is the movie to check out for sure. I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you've already seen it, or if you do get around to it, I would love to know your thoughts on this movie. Leave comments down below. And if any of these movies here, if you've seen them or if you're going to seek them out. But those are the 10 that I would just kind of put out there. 10 great horror movies to check out. Some good for the Halloween season. Some just good in general if you're looking to get into horror and you're trying to find a couple of nuggets outside of those household name horror films. So Again, there's the stack there, guys. I will probably do some more videos like this because I kind of like going through there and finding a couple of these, but I'd love to know your thoughts again. If you are new to the channel, again, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. I did start an Instagram account earlier this year. That's at Bootzilla111, so the same as the YouTube name. I post on there daily just with things with my collection, and that's everything from my collection, not just movies and such, so all sorts of things in there. But that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will catch you all next time.